Hey, welcome to J Sports. Obviously, last week we talked to you. It was after the Royals series, and the Tigers beat the Royals in a very, very contentious series. And we thought, okay, last week when I told you we did on a Sunday, the Tigers won 2 out of 3 in that series too. I said, look, if you can win 5 to 6 games, that's a great series. If you can win 4 to 5, that's a good series. They ended up coming away with 4 wins. Um, the White Sox series was weird. They should have won that one, but the Cubs they won 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, and they continue to put a stranglehold on the division. When you look at Minnesota, who is 7 games behind, they have lost Pablo Lopez, who is one of their big pitchers, to an injury. And you look overall, and the Tigers are still atop the Major League Baseball in overall standings. You look at how this series really hemmed in on what you're able to do. Tigers are in first overall still. Cubs are fourth overall, and obviously the Padres are right there. The Dodgers right there, but the Tigers, Cubs, Yankees, Mets have been the best teams this year, and it's just going to show you. Look, the Tigers have not played this grandiose game. Like there's nothing really impressive with the way that they win. They still need a bat in the lineup, but you're plus 92 differential. That's third best in Major League Baseball, and you're 6-4 in your last 10, which is really good. And there's several players that I think could get the credit for it. Obviously, Torkelson, obviously Greene, Glaber Torres has been a revelation the way that he's been able to play. But all in all, I think one of the biggest helps of the season is Kerry Carpenter. Kerry Carpenter has been huge for this lineup, especially when you think about the way he's been able to bat in totality. He's been getting these clutch home runs. He's been making these clutch hits. I think you look at back at the the Friday game on Apple TV where he made that splendid grab in right field to save a home run. The Tigers are not this team that you're going, wow, they score like a million runs a game. Like for instance, the Dodgers scored 367 runs. The Chicago Cubs, who you just played, scored 363. The difference is the Dodgers have gave up 293. The Cubs have gave up 258. So that's a pretty big discrepancies in terms of uh, point differential. They're at 105. You're at plus 92. But if you look at the Detroit Tigers, are giving up the fourth least runs in the Major League Baseball. They just need to get a new bat at the trade deadline, which I imagine they will. It was interesting. I was listening to CBS Sports headquarters. I do like listening to them because they actually give you some good feedback. They also give you some good highlights. Pretty good package instead of the Sports Center where you got to watch WNBA bullcrap. But I'm listening to Jim Bowden, and he's saying that the Tigers can go after Ryan McMahon of the Colorado Rockies, who's obviously Colorado's a dumpster fire, and Ryan McMahon would serve a purpose for the Detroit Tigers. I mean, he'd be a better at shortstop than um, he'd be better at third base. But he can go anywhere in the infield. He mainly plays third base and shortstop. So he's better over Javi. He's better over Trey Sweeney. But there's a guy you could think about. Then Jeff Passan says what we all would hope for a deal would be, and it was Bo Bichette from the Toronto Blue Jays. I almost said Maple Leafs because it's the same thing. But if you look at the Blue Jays right now, they're about a half game out of the wild card. They're still in it, but does anyone actually think the Toronto Blue Jays are in it? No. Especially when you think about like you're gonna have to pay this guy or he's gonna get away for free. So if I was the Blue Jays, I'd make the deal in a heartbeat. But these are some of the things that Scott Harris is gonna have to wrestle with over the next couple of days in a couple of months. I mean, because we're in June. Obviously, when you get to July, it's kind of like a fast track to the trade deadline. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Tigers are able to do at that point in time. Right now, you look at them and you go, they're good in pitching. They're going to get Reese Olson back. They're going to get Job back. You would hope. Their pitching has been stellar, no matter how you slice it, even with the bullpen days and all that jazz. But the Tigers are really starting to show who they are. And it's been this series with the Cubs showed exactly what the Tigers are capable of in terms of potentially winning a World Series, potentially just running away with the division. They're 7 games ahead of the Minnesota Twins, 7.5 over the Cleveland Guardians. And you look at those teams. I mean, the Cleveland Guardians, they need some. They're not the same team as they were last year. And then you look at the Minnesota Twins. They just lost Pablo Lopez for what seems like could be like 6 to 12 weeks. That's what I've read or whatever. So the Tigers are in a very, very, very good spot. They're in a very good spot, and it's going to be interesting to see where the Tigers go from here. Because really, there's no way that they can go down. There's no way they're not going to go. The way that they're playing, it's been very, very impressive, and I think a lot of people, whether it was against Chicago, whether it was against where they lost games that they shouldn't have, I think a lot of people get scared and they start jumping off the wagon like, we're going to jump off the wagon. This Tigers team is pretty good. And just because they lose a couple games doesn't mean that the sky is falling. In the scheme in baseball, it's a long season. It's a very long season. Sometimes you go through ebbs and flows. Sometimes you get cold. Sometimes you get hot. We've seen Detroit Tigers teams in the past that were better teams than the teams that they faced in the World Series, and they end up losing. So that's just the way baseball primarily goes. And when you look at the way the Tigers have been playing over the last couple of months, it shows you that they're a pretty damn good team. It really does. So it's a good series. Obviously, next for the Tigers, they got the I just lost it. They got the Baltimore Orioles coming up on Tuesday. And when you look at their schedule, like I said last time, when you look at the Tigers' schedule from here on out, it's a pretty winnable. There's a lot of winnable games here. You got on Tuesday, you got Gibson Long going against Povich, Mize versus Effin, Skubal will go against Kremer. And then on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you come back to play Cincinnati. You got Montero, Flaherty, and Gibson Long. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you got Mize, Skubal, Montero. So I look at Pittsburgh. They're not a team that you're really scared of unless you play Skeens, but you will play Skeens in that Thursday day game. But you look at the rest of this June month, you got 3 games against Cincinnati, 3 games against Pittsburgh, 3 games against Tampa Bay, 3 games against Oakland or Las Vegas or whatever the hell they want to call them now, and 3 games against the Twins to end up the end of June. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Tigers can do in this next couple months. But here's the thing. If they start to lose a couple games, don't think the sky is falling. The sky really isn't falling. It's just a matter of fact that the Tigers you can't keep a good pace up. Every team goes through ebbs and flows as the season goes on, and the Tigers, they pitch well, they hit well. Their run scored is top 5 in the league. Runs against is top 5 in the league. They're a well-rounded ball club with a good manager, good pitching, good hitting. They're going to be fine. So just keep it in the conjunction. Obviously, injuries are going to come. We've already seen Reese Olson leave with the finger injury. We don't know when Job is going to be back. We hope he's going to be all right. But the Tigers have avoided major injuries, and still you're still at the top of the league in terms of your record and all that. So it's been a very, very good game, good week for the Tigers. Even though they split that series against the White Sox, beating the Chicago Cubs is what makes it the best. So we'll see you guys in another video of JC Sports. We'll talk Detroit Tigers here on JC Sports. We'll see you in the next video.